Expert panelists say basic tax and healthcare reforms are more critical than infrastructure developments in the advancement of the ASEAN Economic Community, or AEC. Former Indonesian Trade Minister Gitar Wijawan points out that various reforms in terms of tax and healthcare need to be addressed first, ahead of infrastructure developments, else the AEC risks hampering a prolonged economic bull run.
We can talk about that $7 trillion of spending for infrastructure development, but if we're not addressing some of the basic healthcare related stuff, we're not going to have this 20-year run. We may have a 5 to 10-year run, but we're not going to be able to have that 20 to 30-year run. And I do think a part of the solution is fiscal for some countries in Southeast Asia. We're not going to be able to spend $7 trillion on high roads or highways and roads and railroads if many countries in Southeast Asia still have a tax ratio of around 13 to 15%.
Wijawan was speaking at the CAP 10 ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur. He adds that if respective governments of ASEAN do not start collecting more taxes to address these issues, they will in fact become huge systemic risks for the 10-member bloc. ASEAN Chair Malaysia, however, is of the view that equitable infrastructure development is the way to go in ensuring the prosperity of the AEC. In a conversation session with ASEAN's former Secretary General Surin Pitsuwan at the summit, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Razak said that this would help narrow the economic gap among member countries.
We have to make sure that the development is a more equitable development. I agree with you. I think this notion of the development gap must be addressed. And one of the ways in which we can address is to look at the infrastructure. I think infrastructure will play a very key part. We need to generate more capital for that, invest in infrastructure, and that can come from the region. That can also come from outside the region.
He adds that investment in education and human capital development is also important to bridge this gap. Echoing the Prime Minister's thoughts, Maybank Group President and CEO Dato' Abdul Farid Alias points out that the excess capital in some of the richer member states in ASEAN could play a significant role in education and the various sectors.
We have excess capital in some of the countries. We need to be responsible about it and helping our neighbours, making sure the right investment are made in the right sectors, making sure that people have the opportunity to actually get a decent education from Malaysia, from Singapore, for any of the countries around this region, and making sure that people have the ability to build their career in any of the markets in this region. So that is more the key.
ASEAN is projected to grow to become the world's fourth largest economy by 2030. It is currently the seventh largest in the world. Jonathan Gunn, DHTV.